Okay, welcome to KindSoup Saturday. We are so glad you're here, special Ramadan edition. And I am so excited to hand the program over to KindWorks Chief Inspiration Officer, Salma Hasan Ali, who's going to be sharing stories and kind deeds and her mom's simple yet fantastic doll. It's all yours, Salma.
Thanks, everybody. Hang in there just 1 minute. I'm trying to reach my mom now to see if she can join us. So
I will take it back. Well,
yeah,
Cheryl, how about Cheryl? Can you, while Salma is reaching her mom, you want to talk for a minute about our food security initiatives, including KindSoups and Kind Casseroles? And then I'm going to make an offer to everyone about one idea that they might want to do with their soups after you describe what we're doing. Yeah, go ahead.
I think there's some new people who haven't done our KindSoup program before. So yeah, basically we cook enough to enjoy it ourselves and enough to package up, freeze, and we donate to a number of food assistance providers, as well as a friend, a neighbor, someone who's experiencing some grief who would be warmed by a nice bowl of soup. Here. So this is an old one that I have. We have these quart containers. When we're done, we put it in here. It's like a deli container. Don't go beyond this line here because when it freezes, it expands. And if the lid pops off, our food assistance providers need to discard it. So we put it in here, we label it, put the label on before you freeze it because I have found that the labels don't stick once it's frozen. And we write the name of this soup, or what's in it, the primary ingredients, what if there's anything that might be a common allergen, soy, eggs, if there's any pork products used in it, we want to note that. Of course, we're not putting anything in our dal. And then we can talk about where you can bring them afterwards.
Yeah. Yep. Thanks. I just wanted to add that there is on our website 5 or 6 food assistance providers in our area, the greater DC area, and drop-off times and dates are on there. But there is one additional need that we have for someone to drop off 5 or 6 quarts to a women's shelter in Silver Spring. And that's for tomorrow night. If anybody's interested in moving their intended recipients over to the women's shelter in Silver Spring, just reach out to me. And it's an easy drop off because there's a guard at the front door and he'll take it anytime between 9 and 4. And you don't need to have quart size containers. Laura Lee, you grabbing it?
Yeah, that's I like that. They sometimes don't have enough room in their freezer, but if they're open tomorrow, that's great.
They need 5 or 6 quarts of soup because we're dropping off the rest of the soup and salad dinner tomorrow. So you will be part of that dinner, and I'll send you.
Okay.
That's great. Thank you so much. Salma, you good?
Yeah.
All right. Handing it back to you.
Hi, everybody. How's everybody doing? Ramadan Mubarak to people who are celebrating. So we are making dal today, which is probably the most well-known, popular South Asian dish. It's eaten throughout South Asia and Pakistan and India and Bangladesh and Sri Lanka, in all the countries. And it is sort of our comfort food. You know, it's delicious, it's nutritious, lots of protein and lots of vitamin B and all sorts of things. And it's really easy to make, and it is inexpensive to make. So it's something that everybody can afford to make, and it's made for family meals. It can be sort of fancified for special occasions, but usually it's not made for weddings or, you know, big parties or anything. It's sort of your family fare comfort food. And so we're going to make a very simple version. It's amazing how simple this dish is to make, and yet there are so many variations and so many different ways in which you can add this and that, or do your tempering of spices differently, and it tastes just a little bit different. So this is your basic dal, something you can whip up easily and quickly. We make it with red lentils. This is called Masoor Dal. As you may know, there are so many different varieties of dal in South Asian cooking, and this one is readily available in most grocery stores. And so if you're all with me so far, you would have a pot of boiling water ready. And I just suggested starting the boiling process because we're working with, 12, 14, 16 cups of water. It takes a while to boil.
Salma,
Yeah.
before you go forward, there's a question. Please advise what was changed other than the water quantity from the prior posting of the recipe.
Maybe half a spoon less of this spice or more of that spice. We'll go through it. No new ingredients were added or anything like that. When I made it in this large quantity, it just needed a little tweaking. And please, everybody, realize that dal is something that is never recipeed as such. It is something that you just have a sense for, because they're just a couple of spices and there's lots of boiling, and the main thing happens at the end. You heat up some ghee or some oil and you fry the onions and the garlic and the cumin seeds. It's called tempering. And then you pour that over the dal. And that's really where the flavor comes from. Otherwise, it's just, boiled lentils with a little bit of turmeric and salt. So not to worry if, you had an earlier version, or I'll let you know what might have been different. And the main thing is, if you like how it tastes at the end, that's awesome. And if it doesn't taste how you want it to, add a little more salt, add a little more pepper. That's it. The taste really comes from this fried onion garlic thing that we do at the end. So I will start by, my water is boiling. I probably will have to add a little more water because it's been boiling for a while and it's reduced. But I'll start by putting my lentils into the boiling water. Yes, I sent her the link. How's everybody? Any questions? Up to 16 cups. Yes, up to 16 cups of water. It should be about, let's say, a couple of inches above where the lentils rest. And water is something, if it seems to be boiling away, we'll add some more. If we want it thicker, we'll let it evaporate. And dal is going to get thicker as it sits. So we want it fairly soupy to start with, and then it will thicken. And as I was saying earlier before people joined, we usually have this over white rice. So the consistency typically is thicker than soupier, but today we'll make it a little soupier.
Are we adding the turmeric and red pepper right now, like while we start boiling?
So I'm going to let it come to a boil again, and then I'll add those spices. And I'm still chopping my garlic. So if people haven't done that, start slicing your garlic.
I had another question. I have red pepper flakes versus cayenne pepper versus ground red pepper. Does it?
Yes. Can I see your ground red pepper?
I don't. That's what I don't have. I have crushed red pepper and I have cayenne.
Huh.
And I was using a mortar, the pestle, to see if I could turn my red pepper flakes into ground.
The red pepper that I use is something I get from the Indian grocery store typically, and it's much, much spicier than sort of the red pepper powder that you might get at the grocery store. And so that was one of the tweaks when I realized that I'd asked for a tablespoon and a quarter, that was too much of my very strong red pepper. So Cheryl, between your two options, I would go maybe for the red pepper flakes.
You know, Cheryl,
Cayenne is, no. Yes, you can, absolutely.
it says red pepper is cayenne, is what the McCormick thing says. Now, in fairness, this is a 12-year-old, 20-year-old can that I just keep refilling from the co-op, but I thought red pepper and cayenne were the same.
Oh, okay. They may be. You know, cayenne is just not a spice we use in Indian cooking, but if it is the same, let me see what it smells like. I have some cayenne.
I'm going to take a King Solomon approach. I'm going to use a little of both.
Okay. Yeah, you know, you can't go wrong. You really can't. The cayenne certainly can work. It smells peppery, and the red pepper flakes, because sometimes at the end when we're doing the tempering, we use a whole dried red pepper and fry that. So, you know, the red pepper, just be careful in terms of your how spicy you like things. Should we skim the foam off the top? Yes. I tend to a little bit. It's not a problem if you leave it, but can you add the lentils before the water boils? Yes, you can. Usually we put the water and the lentils together and let it boil, but I just wanted to show that the adding process. So that's why I was letting my water boil first. Any other questions? Okay, so as this is coming back to a boil, I'm just going to skim it and then we can chat. So I had actually, you guys continue chopping and doing whatever you need to do, but I'm going to take a minute as this comes to a boil, and there's a lot of boiling time. So I wanted to just speak a little bit about Ramadan, and specifically about a project that our family started during Ramadan 10 years ago, which has now resulted in a book that just came out a couple of days ago. And I want to show that to you. This is the book. It's called 30 Days, Stories of Gratitude, Traditions, and Wisdom. And so Ramadan, as I'm sure you know, is the month of fasting for Muslims. We fast every day from dawn until sunset. So dawn is right now, like we get up early in the morning and eat an early meal, which is called suhoor. And we have to stop eating by about 5:15 a.m. And typically you go back to sleep, but often that's not the case. So usually you have a filling breakfast. I typically will have eggs of some kind and toast, and definitely tea, because if you're used to caffeine, you'll get that caffeine headache. I also like to have oatmeal with blueberries, anything that's going to keep you fairly full. And then you say your morning prayers. Muslims pray 5 times a day at certain set times of the day. So you have something to eat, you have your cup of tea, you have a lot of water, because you're not going to be drinking water all day. That's one of the most asked questions about fasting is water allowed? It isn't. Nothing is allowed. You have to be careful, even sort of brushing your teeth, that you're careful about that. So you have your morning meal, you say your prayers, and you get to work or get back to sleep. And the whole day until 7:46, which is when the sun sets. I mean, it changes obviously every day by a few minutes. But last night it was around 7:46, I think. That's when you break your fast. And the traditional way to break your fast is with a date, which is what Prophet Muhammad ate when the whole tradition of fasting started. So we break our fast with a date, and then we have a meal called an iftar, which is the breaking of the fast meal. And usually it's delicious, fried samosas and lovely fruit salads and different things, sort of a full meal. You're pretty full and you've been fasting all day. So you end up eating quite a bit. But then there's a dinner that follows that as well. So you break your fast, then you say your prayers, and then you have a huge spread. And then you pray again, and there's a late night prayer during the month of Ramadan, and then you're exhausted. You're absolutely wiped out. So, and then you start again the next day. So for 30 days. Very observant Muslims and those who have the discipline fast every day for 30 days. People are exempt if somebody's sick, the elderly, if you're traveling, if there's any kind of physical or mental illness, or something that thwarts you from being healthy and fasting, you are excused from it, and you can make up the fast. You can also feed the needy as a way to practice your devotion this month. And fasting also, it's not just about fasting from food and water. Really, this month for me is also very much about doing good and being generous and expressing gratitude, doing kind deeds. So those are the values that I wanted to teach my kids when they were younger. So 10 years ago, it was Ramadan 2011, and my kids are now grown, but they were not fasting at the time throughout the month of Ramadan. And I wanted them to understand that it is about more than not eating and drinking. So we decided we would do one good deed each day. And we would, to keep us sort of accountable and conscious of doing something each day, we would write something about it, just put it in a blog and put it out there for our family and for our neighbors and for community members, just to kind of follow the journey if they were interested. So that's how this blog started. 30 days, 30 deeds. And at the time, my parents were visiting. And so the kids and I, we came up with projects that were easy to do in our homes, for our families, for our neighbors, for our community. We didn't set out to change the world. I didn't want to devise, massive service projects and make it onerous and difficult. The idea was for the kids to understand that there's so much that they can do if they're conscious of the fact that, there's ways to give kindness and share kindness all around them. And so some days we took cupcakes to the women's shelter, and we planted trees, and we baked moon and star shaped cookies for our neighbors. We hosted a neighborhood iftar at our home. And many days, the kids just spent time with my parents who were visiting. And Zaid, our son, who's 9 at the time, he did experiments with my dad. And Sanya shared photographs of southern Spain, which a place where my mom had always wanted to go, but didn't get a chance to. So simple things, because there's a saying in our faith tradition that making your brother smile is a form of charity. And so they were making their grandparents smile every day. And that's good. That's a good deed. And that's what I wanted them to understand, that, it doesn't have to be big to be meaningful. And just being aware and being conscious and doing something with intention. Hey, and there's my mom. Mom, are you there? I think she's logged on.
She's been on since the beginning.
Oh, good. So yeah, that's how it started. And each year we decided we would continue. It was fun, and it was something we did as a family. And so the next year we decided to do 30 gratitudes. Expressing thanks is a very important part of this month. So each day we would think about what we were grateful for. Everyday things, big things, small things, things in the world. How's everybody doing? Any questions before? My dal is boiling. I'll pause there for a minute, and then we can add our spices.
Should we be keeping it boiling or down to simmer?
Yes, so now, once it's boiling, you can reduce the heat and do a sort of medium to high. It doesn't have to come down too low. So we're gonna add turmeric and we're gonna add red pepper and we're gonna add salt. Can someone remind me how much turmeric did I say? Let me check.
Said 2.5 to 3 teaspoons of ground turmeric.
Okay. I'm going to do 3. And again, this is based on your taste preference. For me, 3 works well. Usually it's sort of 1 spoon per cup of dal. Mom, if you're there and you can unmute, you please feel free to chime in. And this is the red pepper. As I said, mine is really, really hot. I'm going to go with about 3/4 of a spoon. But you can, if you're using cayenne, or cayenne is probably 1 is probably fine if you're good with spice. Hi, Mom. You have to unmute, Mom. The microphone on the bottom left.
Yes, it is unmuted.
Okay, then we can hear you. Everybody meet my mom.
But you can't see, I can't see anyone.
Allah.
Yeah, and we can't see you. So is your video on, that video camera on the bottom left? Is there a line on it, or is it? If there's a line?
I keep losing you.
Okay. That's okay. We can hear you, Mom. So are we doing okay with your dal recipe so far? It's boiling and we've added the turmeric and the red pepper.
Yeah, the difference you see between the cayenne pepper,
Yes,
and the regular pepper. The cayenne pepper is very mild. It's very mild. So you know, people might not want it spicy. The regular pepper is spicy.
I'm using bird's eye peppers because I like it spicy.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi.
Sarah, all the way from Guernsey.
All the way from Guernsey. It's very dark outside now. It's almost 11 o'clock at night.
Oh my
The
goodness.
other thing I was going to say, we'll see if your mom agrees, but when I was taught how to make lentil soup, we would make what we call the tatlia, which is the garlic, the onion, the spices fried up. And then you would take a ladle full of the red lentils and pour them directly in, like over the spices and the onion garlic as it was cooking. And it would make this amazing chum sound, and you would have this sort of like a nuclear cloud of steam would come up, and then you would empty it back into the lentil pot.
Yes, I've heard that. Mom, do you do that, or do you just pour the bahar onto the lentils?
No, I don't do that. No, I just at the end, when the lentils are cooked, then we put fry the onion separately in a frying pan, and the garlic, the onion, and the cumin seeds.
Yep.
And just for about 2-3 minutes, and then pour it over the
lentil.
The lentil, yeah, over it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but I've heard that, Sarah, that you put a little bit into that, and it splatters and makes all this popping sound as the hot oil is hit with the lentils, perhaps for dramatic effect.
Yeah, it's definitely dramatic.
Yes. So we're gonna let this cook now for a good, I'm not sure, at least 35 minutes. I'm not sure that it'll be even ready by the time we end our call, but we will make the onion and garlic and cumin bahar before we end. So you can see how all that goes. But I'll just.
Salma,
Yeah.
hi, it's Betsy. It's taken a while to log in, so it must be a very popular event. But if I could just rewind a little bit. So
Yeah.
we have the lentils in the water now with
Yes.
what other ingredients?
With turmeric. So I put 3 teaspoons of turmeric.
Yeah.
What? What did you say? 3 teaspoons? Oh,
Yeah,
No.
Mom, we're making a huge quantity.
that's a lot of turmeric. 2 teaspoons would have been enough. Anyway,
No, I tried it, Mom. It's your recipe, but it's tripled.
oh,
Yeah. And then Betsy, also red pepper.
Yes.
And that's to taste. I put 3/4 because I have a very strong Indian store red pepper. Cayenne, you can add a little more.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, and sorry to interrupt.
Not at all, not at all, please. So any other questions before we continue?
Well, I have one question about slicing the garlic. Does it matter if it's crosswise or lengthwise?
no,
Mom says no. Nope.
no, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no.
And
it's-
the other question would be just to remind us when we should put the tomatoes in if we're using the tomatoes.
Yes,
Thank you.
sure.
Speaking of tomatoes, and also cumin seeds, so if I don't have real tomatoes, can diced tomatoes drain perhaps?
Mom, what would you say to that? Is it better to leave them out, or are canned tomatoes okay?
The canned tomatoes, don't put too much, just a little bit. If you don't have the fresh ones,
Uh-huh.
then just take the canned tomatoes, but just maybe in that big pot, you can put 2 tablespoons, 2 to 3 tablespoons. Don't put not the whole can or something.
Yeah, okay,
That's helpful.
that's good. It's really for color, a little bit of flavor, and
Yeah.
I like to use the triple strength tomato concentrate that comes in a tube, because
Oh.
then you can use just how much you want for the color,
uh-huh.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Anything else, Mom? Oh, my mother-in-law is on too. Hi, Mama. You want to say hello? You unmute and say hello to everybody. You're muted. Wait, you're muted. Just click on that mic on the bottom left of your screen.
Deb, can you unmute Salma's mom? No, you can't.
There you are. Hi, Mama.
Okay.
Oh, good. This is my mom-in-law. We've got both moms on the call for this dal recipe. So,
Yes,
Mama,
I know.
what would you like
There
to
was
add?
one. Could I butt in a little bit? She asked
Absolutely.
about the tube paste, the tomato paste. No, I wouldn't put that because that has a different taste. The fresh tomatoes and the tin tomatoes are quite similar, and the tomato paste has a different flavor and a different. So I wouldn't add that. That's my personal choice.
I agree with that. So, Mama, so as I was saying, this book has come out about various personal stories around gratitude and good deeds, traditions. There's a chapter on recipes, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit, is family recipes, because Mama is an amazing cook, and she's watched her mom and her grandmother cook all of these wonderful recipes. And there's a piece that Mama wrote in the book about Ramadan and the sort of the table that used to be laid with so many delicious things. Will you tell us about it, Mama?
Well, my grandmother would go down at 4 o'clock in the afternoon before iftar, and she would sit, and all the plates and utensils were brought in front of her by the servant, and then she would start making she would start making the drinks. There used to be 2 or 3 different kinds of drinks to open your fast with, and there were some traditional recipes every year that we looked forward to, which were made only during the iftar during Ramadan. And one of my favorites that everybody loved were these pancakes, which we called party pita. It used to be like a crepe, but it had saffron crepes filled with cream. And you can imagine how delicious that sounds, made with eggs and milk and cream. And then there were different kinds of samosas with different kind of fillings, and many other, chickpeas were a staple, pakoras, which were different vegetables fried in batter, many different kinds. And sometimes there was puris filled with dal. And so we looked forward to that. And in fact, all my cousins would make a beeline for our home in the evening, and we would have quite a large table with friends and family, especially for our iftar, which was quite legendary. I meet people after many years and they say, I remember the iftar in your house. And sometimes they even mention that, do you know how to make that biryani where the meat is dark on the outside and pink on the inside? And I said, no, I don't. I would never be able to do what my mother and grandmother did, but now I do try. So, but it was very special. And these are the memories we have from her. So we always say, this is Nanna's recipe. And that gives it a stamp of approval.
Yes. And one of Nanna's, I think Nanna's recipes, not so much a Ramadan recipe, but one of the things that Mama makes that we all love is a Burmese dish called kauswe. And that recipe, which is a very secret recipe passed down the generations, is actually in this book. So what is kauswe, Mama? Tell us.
Kauswe is a Burmese dish. My mother was born in Burma, in Rangoon, and she lived her early years up till she got married in Rangoon. And kauswe is now familiar to a lot of people because they have Burmese restaurants, and the children love it because it has noodles in it. So, and it is made with either chicken or beef, and it has a curry base with coconut milk added. And then they have all kinds of condiments to go with it, like boiled eggs, cilantro chopped, fried onions, raw onions, that you add on top of it, and with a squeeze of lime juice. So the children like that, and they get them to eat it very easily. In fact, it's Zaid's favorite.
Yes,
so
our
whenever he comes, we can't make anything but kauswe, So that's what kauswe is.
Yes.
It's his favorite for all of us.
It is. And one of my mom's specialties is also in the book, her special samosas. And this is something our daughter, particularly, we all love it, but Sanya, our daughter, used to ask for Nani is grandmother, Nani samosas when she was off in college. And so my mom would prepare these care packages with her samosas in them, and all of Sanya's roommates would know when they're arriving, and so would land up in her room to have these samosas. Mom, what is the secret of your samosas?
My samosas, they're very particular to our family, but how you started I remember when I was 12 years old, I would sit with my grandmother, and the samosas are folded in triangles.
Mm-hmm.
You stuff it and then you twist the triangles till the end of the dough. But I got to put, and then you stick it with a bit of flour and water, and I got to put my finger where the sticking was done. So that was a very honorable position at that moment. Be allowed to put your finger on the samosa, and then grandmother would stick it with the flour paste. So that means I had arrived if I was allowed to do that. And the fillings were different. I remember having my most favorite filling was made with coconut and gur, which is like a molasses sugar. And it's cooked till it is like a sticky mass, and you fill it, the samosas, with that. So that was the sweet version. And then you have the savory version, which is ground beef with cilantro and onions. but it's a lot of work. It's not easy. And usually in those days, you didn't have wraps, wonton wraps or samosa wraps. You had to make the wraps yourself.
Right.
It was very difficult, but now it's much easier to do.
Yeah. Mom, mom, do you make it with these wraps? What do you use?
Yeah, I use the wraps, and usually found in Chinese, where the Chinese in Chinese cooking, they have these wontons and everything.
Yep.
So you can find those wraps there, and you bring them home, and then you cut them into you cut
long
them
strips.
Long
strips.
Yeah, long strips, and then you lay them on the surface, on the table surface, and you put the filling in, whether it's ground beef or ground chicken or something. So and then you wrap it up in a triangle shape, and
Well,
then
I know it. Sorry.
Pardon?
I'm sorry to have interrupted you. I thought you were taking a pause, and I wanted to say, I was wondering, even though it's not soup, if we could have kind samosas one day, and the nannies could help us learn how to make samosas. Wouldn't that be fun?
Definitely. When they're over at our place, we will do that for sure.
I have a question.
Hey.
Hi, Hala. It's Shireen. I have a question about the dal.
Yes.
So we're frying the onions and everything. How do we know when that's done? Should it be dry, or is it just still wet?
No, the dal.
No.
The bagar.
They've already gone to the next step.
We're overachievers.
Oh, the bagar.
You're overachievers.
No, it can't be dry. You see, you've got oil in it, so
Yeah,
you don't dry it. You just
so we just
saute.
kind of cook it until it's fried and then turn it off.
Yeah, light brown, not
Okay.
dark brown.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then,
Right, everybody, I'm going to interrupt for just a minute, because we have, in addition to all the special guests who have already been on, and I hope will stay on, we have a special guest, Hetty, who is one of the people behind Here to Help in Montgomery County. And that is one of the food assistance providers that we deliver our soups to, or that you are able to deliver your soups to. They collect on Sunday mornings from 10 to 2, and they deliver to families who are in need, mostly, I think, due to COVID, but we'll hear directly from Hetty about Here to Help and the families that they serve. Well, Hetty.
okay.
Hetty, so glad you joined us. Before you start, I just want to say, please add your tomatoes, whoever's using tomatoes.
Hi, thank you, Deb. Hi, Salma. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, my name is Hetty, and I with Here to Help, which my daughter Lily founded about a year ago when the pandemic was first starting. And I wanted to come on and say thank you so much to all of you volunteers at KindWorks that have made the delicious soup and have helped us add something lovely and homemade to the non-perishable bags that we send out to our beneficiaries, our families. They have really enjoyed it thoroughly. It was a great surprise for them, and I think they've gotten used to it. So I hope you continue cooking your soup, because it's definitely become a wonderful addition to our bags that go out every Sunday. And if we have extras, we keep them in the freezer and we send it out for our Wednesdays, because we have 2 delivery days a week.
Well, that's fantastic. Hetty, what kinds of things are in the food boxes that you deliver in addition to the soups?
We have cereal, oatmeal, pasta, tomato sauce or canned tomatoes. We have rice, beans, peanut butter, jelly, tuna, mayonnaise, soup, canned soup, and protein bars or cereal bars or things like that.
Yeah.
Those are basically the things that we have.
Eddie, do you have
And
some?
I'm sorry to interrupt. Canned vegetables and canned or cup of fruits or canned foods, non-perishable things like that. I'm sorry.
I was going to ask, do you also have some fresh produce that you put in the bags if any have been donated?
Yes. So that's what I just described is what is the contents that we put in the bags every week. Everything extra is basically donation based or what we can rescue. What Lily and I started doing back in the spring of last year is we would go to the Bethesda farmers market around 10 of 1 because they start shutting down at 1, and we would rescue any of the produce that the farmers did not want to take back with them. So we would bring crates back home and we would try to redistribute those, but you never know what you got or the quantity. So we were able to source and rescue some produce from the farmers market, as well as 2 bakeries. One is Leon Bakery in Hyattsville has donated thousands of loaves of bread to us in the past year, as well as Fresh Baguette in Bethesda. They donate to us on a weekly basis as well. So we are able to add fresh bread and produce, but during the winter, produce was a little difficult because of the freeze and everything. So we have had some families that donate produce to us, but it's not on a weekly basis that we can send out.
Mm-hmm. And who are your families? How do they come to you? And how many families or people are you serving? It's incredible that your daughter started this.
Yes, it's the families. We have fed over 5,500 families in the past year. Wow. We do normally, our average was about 100 families a week. Mm-hmm. That ranges sometimes as we have like 75, sometimes we have 110, 115, but on average we have about 100. And in the beginning it was word of mouth. It was basically the way Here to Help started was that I, as a family, we would always donate food to the school pantry. My daughter was a student at BCC, and I would always send in food with my daughters to donate to the pantry, so students who were in need would just come and take them. And so when the pandemic started and school was going to shut down, we were having a lot of family discussions about what's going to happen and how people's lives will change. So Lily was very concerned about what would happen to the students that were benefiting from the free and reduced meals from school, and also the pantry that we as a family were donating to. So she was the editor of the school newspaper at that time, and she decided to use the social media of the school newspaper and put it on to say that if anybody needs help with food, we will deliver a contact list. And at the beginning, it was just Lily and myself. We just ordered some extra food and we packed it and we would go and deliver it to families. But then as the pandemic grew, we couldn't sustain it ourselves, and more neighbors and the community learned about us and they wanted to help. So we have 5 different donation sites that help us receive donated food from the community. They rebag and they send out bags, twice a week. And right now we are hoping to transition to one central location, which would be Bethesda Presbyterian, where everybody's dropping off the soups on Sundays. That would be our central location for the bags to be packed on Sundays and sent out.
Okay, and you at Bethesda Presbyterian from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Frozen
Yes.
foods. Fantastic.
Frozen. Yes.
Thank you. So it's so impressive. And now I understand why Lily did what she did. It was the way her mama raised her.
Well, we have to raise them to know about the community. And Salma, that's how we met Salma. And, they have to give back. They have to be raised to know that they shouldn't live in a bubble. And there are people out there that right in our own community. We don't have to go far. I mean, they're all over the world, obviously, but there are even the student right next to you, your friend, and the most important thing about Here to Help is what we try to do. And Lily is very adamant about this, is food with dignity. She never asked questions. As long as somebody said, I needed food, we assume, that it's because they're ill or because they've lost a job or if they've fallen on hard times. So you just need to, I'm very proud of her, and I'm happy that she's learned to give back to the community. And the most sacred thing is to be able to serve. I think, to give back.
Fantastic.
I just want to add that Hetty and her daughters, the whole family is just such an amazing family with such generous hearts, such a sincere soul. I've gotten to know them. We traveled together to Jordan a couple of summers ago to Zaatari refugee camp. And I've gotten to know Lily the last few months because she's been helping me, in fact, with this book, doing a lot of the social media, and she's just amazing. It's been such a pleasure to get to know her and to be a part of her big heart. And I'm so proud of her. I'm proud of both your girls, and thank you so much for raising them the way that you did. They really have very generous and big hearts.
Thank you. Thank you for the kind words and kind works and the kind words. Salma, you do know that you are a mentor for both of them. They absolutely look up to you, and you have touched their lives in such an amazing way. But thank you so much, and thanks to all the volunteers at KindWorks for all that you do.
Thank you too.
And help us to give our families a little bit of home cooked meal. I'm sure they're tired of opening canned foods and
Yeah, no, it's terrific. And thanks for joining us so the people who are cooking know personally where it's going. We really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. And I'd love to join one of the cooking sessions once. Usually
Please do.
Saturdays, Sundays are difficult because we're like packing bags, but as we centralize it, I'll have a little bit more time. So
we will love that.
I'd love to. Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you too, Hetty.
Thank you. Great seeing everybody. Happy cooking. Bye-bye.
Okay. We're going to move on to making the baghar, which is that the onions and garlic and tempering it in oil, or I like to use ghee. I really like this ghee. It's Calapo ghee, but you can use oil. So heat some oil in a fry pan under low heat and add your onions.
Salma, while people are stirring their onions before they put their garlic in, can I show a quick little video about the book that you just published?
Sure.
I would like to do that.
Anybody have questions before we? Just heat the oil and start browning the onions. And the video is just 2 minutes, so we'll be back.
Okay.
It's our personal stories that connect us, that make us feel more at home with each other. This book is a collection of stories. A grandson's letter of gratitude to his Nendo, a mother's loving prayer for her children, a daughter remembering her father's wisdom, a friend sharing his despair at this difficult time, a recipe that brings back memories of laughter and love. The making of this book is itself a story of the Afghan artist whose foreign success endangered her life at home. Yet she continues to create with paints made of crushed gemstones, lapis lazuli and emeralds, and with rose petals and tea. Of a production team of storytellers in Dhaka, committed to promoting social justice. Of the artisans binding each book by hand with care and attention. Just a few hundred, a collector's edition. All these layers of stories are stitched together, but there remains space for one more. Yours. What are you grateful for? What traditions hold special meaning for your family? What wisdoms guide your life? whose story inspires you. Let's share our stories and reconnect.
Hey everyone, welcome
Uh-oh.
back to Her Majesty.
Uh-oh. There we go. That was beautiful. Although it's only as part as beautiful as the book, because I picked up my copy. So if anybody hasn't seen it yet, you can come visit me and take a look. It is a gorgeous book.
Thank you. Thank you so much. How's everybody doing with their onions? Are you?
I have a question.
Yes.
So I've got everything done. I mean, because I started ahead of you because I knew it was going to take so long. So do I just mix the onions into the lentil mixture anytime I want at this point?
At the end, once the lentils are cooked.
Mm-hmm.
So are your onions sort of light brown? Are they?
Oh, I'm done. Yeah.
You're done. And you've added the garlic and you've done the cumin seeds. Okay, then and if your lentils are cooked as you want them and as it has the consistency that you want, then you just pour that over the top and mix it together.
Okay, so I do mix it.
If you like cilantro, that's the final thing that we add is just a bunch of chopped cilantro.
Well, cilantro or coriander?
Well, the fresh stuff. I guess this is cilantro and coriander is the dry.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're right. Yes, I knew that actually. I've forgotten. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else have questions?
Yes, for the onions, so we just slice them, we don't dice them, right?
You can do either. Mom usually just slices them thin, and so that's what I do. But dicing is good too.
And my question, Salma, is I didn't. You said 16 cups of water. I actually put in 14 because I wanted to have enough room for other stuff. But it's still very liquidy, very sweet.
Just let it keep cooking. And you have 3 cups of lentil.
Yes.
Okay. So let it continue cooking, and know that when it sits, it's also going to get thicker. So it won't necessarily be the consistency it is now. It gets thicker, once it's just sits in the bowl as well.
Thank you. Helpful.
So we just have a couple of minutes. I just want to make sure that everybody understands this final step, which is really the most important in a sense, because all the flavor kind of comes from this cooking of the onions. Once the onions are light brown, then you'll want to add your sliced garlic. And the last thing will be to add your cumin seeds. And just, keep mixing it. And you don't want the onions to get dark brown. Once you feel, the onions are cooked, the garlic is cooked, the cumin seeds have popped a little bit, then you're just going to pour the fry pan mixture over the lentils and just give it a stir. And one thing I didn't mention to add, and I hope people did, is salt. I just added it a little while ago. I added 2 teaspoons, and it's to taste. I may need to add a little bit more because there's a lot of dal in this pot. So start with 2, and then if you need to add another half or 1, then you can do that once it's
do you add any salt to the onion garlic or not?
No. And then the cilantro, if you're using it, just fresh cilantro, wash it, chop it, and add it just as a garnish on top.
And just a question on the timing of adding the onion and garlic mixture. That's after the lentils have thickened, because mine is also really liquidy still.
Okay, it's after it has thickened to the consistency that we would like it.
Okay.
Right now, mine has a soupy consistency, and again, it will thicken a little more than this, even if I stop cooking it. Once, it just rests at room temperature, it thickens. But I'm going to continue cooking it probably for another 15 minutes, so it's a little bit thicker. And it depends. If you'd like to have it for over rice, then make it a little bit thicker. If you'd like to just have it as a soup, then less sort of a liquidy would work. But I don't think they're done yet, so I would continue cooking for about at least another 15 minutes and then have a taste and see. And my onions are still cooking. They're not quite light brown yet.
Do we add the cumin? I don't have cumin seeds, but I'll add some cumin.
You actually really need cumin seeds as opposed to cumin powder. What do you think, moms on the call?
Cumin seeds, no powder.
No powder. It's too late to add a powder spice right now because it's not going to cook. So cumin seeds or mustard seeds. I don't know if people love mustard seeds, but and if you don't have cumin seeds, then leave it out. Just the onions and the garlic will be totally fine.
Would celery seeds work?
No.
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 I have extra cumin seeds if anyone needs it.
I know, me too, Cheryl, if you need some.
I actually had cumin seeds, but I finished everything I had. I probably could have used another teaspoon, but hey.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, you can easily leave them out. It's dal is a very, as we say, forgiving recipe. So it's meant to be made with what you have at home. And if you're out of cumin seeds or don't have them, just leave it out. No problem.
Selma, can you share your website? One of the ladies was asking where to get the book.
Sure. Cheryl, will you add that in? Assalamu alaikum, Sodia. Nice to see you.
Walaikum assalam. Nice to see you too. Thank you so much. This is wonderful.
Good. I'm so glad you joined.
So I'm having some technical difficulties, so I put it in earlier, but
I'll do it right now. It's basically it's my website. The books, as you saw in the video, they're all handmade, and I have just made a few hundred of them, and they are available through my website, which is salmahasanali.com. I'll put it in right now.
Thank you. And sorry, how much cumin seed is it?
I think I said 2 or 3 teaspoons. Let me check.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it says 3 teaspoons. So I know we're wrapping up now. My onions are done. I'm going to add my garlic and my cumin seeds in a bit. Let us know how it turns out.
I just tasted mine and I love it.
Oh, good.
Yes.
So would coriander seed work in place of cumin seed? Nope. Okay.
She says yes to everything except the one question you ask her. That's not fair.
Yeah, no, just leave the seed out. If you don't have it, the onions and garlic will absolutely make it taste delicious.
When the dal is thick enough, you take the onion mixture and just pour it in and stir it together.
Yes, that's it. And there should be a little bit of oil or ghee still there. It shouldn't be completely dry. If it's getting very dry, you can add a little bit more oil to it.
Is everybody good?
Good.
Yeah? Everybody's good? All right, then we are going down, signing off of Facebook, and I'm going to end the recording, and you guys can stay on and talk, or we can be done. And we hope to see you next Saturday for something exciting and fun.
Hey, Deb, before they go.
Yes.
Thanks.
If anyone lives in Carter Rock, Cavendish, Bethesda, or Potomac and would rather